Good morning, you two, and welcome to Wednesday's art lesson. I hope you've had a lovely week so far and you're ready to go again for some more art. So today we are going to be looking at some exciting sentences. So obviously Quentin Blake's job is to illustrate what Roald Dahl has wrote for him, and we're going to give that a go today. So we're going to be looking at some examples of some exciting sentences and the illustrations that match to them. Then we're going to do a bit of a matching activity ourselves before we then start drawing in that Quentin Blake style based upon some exciting sentences. And I'm going to show you some different examples of those at the end. Okay. Right, these are things you're going to need. Just a blank piece of paper today, no lined paper. So go and get your bits and bobs ready if you haven't done so already. Okie dokie, right then. So today we are going to be thinking about the stories of Roald Dahl and how Quentin Blake had to use his imagination to make his illustrations reflect the words that had been written. So these are some illustrations that are from the BFG, and they are some of the dreams that he had in his dream jars. So obviously the big friendly giant, he doesn't actually talk properly. So I'm just going to read them, and I want you to have a look at the pictures that are matching them that Quentin Blake has drawn. So the first one, I is able to jump out of any high window and float down safely, and that's the picture that he's drawn to match. I is only an 8-year-old boy, little boy, but I is growing a splendid bushy beard and all the other boys is jealous. And there you can see a little boy with a huge beard and all of the other boys are staring at him. So obviously Quentin Blake would have had to read those words and imagine how that was going to look and then draw his illustration based on what he wanted it to look like. So this is another one. This is Mrs Twit. So this is from the Twits. I wonder if any of you have read it. And he has to choose those exciting sentences from the story and choose which one he wants to draw to illustrate for the reader to bring it to life. So let's read this little extract and then look at the picture that matches it up. So why would that happen? I'll tell you why. If a person has ugly thoughts, it begins to show on the face. And when that person has ugly thoughts every day, every week, every year, the face gets uglier and uglier until it gets so ugly you can hardly bear to look at it. So Quentin Blake is describing Mrs Twit there, and he says that she started off with quite a lovely face and then it gets uglier and uglier because she gets so horrible with all her horrible thoughts in her head. And you can see the progression from quite an okay looking Mrs Twit to a very ugly Mrs Twit over at the end. So what I want you to do now is pause me, and on your whiteboard I'd like you to tell me how Mrs Twit's features have changed over the years. So for example, one of the features that I've noticed has definitely changed is her hair. It was in quite an okay shape at the start, and now it's got really, really messy and really, really scraggly. And Quentin Blake has drawn it using those really sharp, squiggly, spiky lines. So I want you to double check how those features have changed over the years. So pause me, have a good look at the pictures and tell me what's different about each one. Okay, off you go. Right, let's see how you got on with that one. So I have got these ones that I noticed. I wonder if any of you've got exactly the same. So I said messier hair, spotty skin. So in the very last one, her face has now got some little spots over it. She gets a much bigger body. Okay, so at the start, she doesn't seem to have, she has quite a small body really. You don't see much of it, but it seems to get much bigger as the years goes on. What's different is her facial features change as well. So her eyes change, and also her nose gets a lot bigger. So Quentin Blake always draws his characters with quite a big nose, but actually he's now changed her nose shape and it's gotten a lot bigger as well. It droops down now and it's got a big pointy bit. And her mouth as well has changed, where it changes into a frown. So at the start it was like a little smile-ish, and now it's changed down to a frown and it's got some jagged teeth pointing out as well. So he's made it look much uglier over the years, and he's shown that by doing 4 different pictures. Okay, this is an illustration that Quentin Blake drew to match this description, and I wonder if any of you know the book that this is from. So I'm going to read it and make sure you're looking at the illustration that matches. It wasn't a human. It couldn't be. It was 4 times as tall as the tallest human. The giant, if that's what it was wearing a long black coat. In one hand, he was holding what looked like a long, thin trumpet. In the other hand, a large suitcase. So Quentin Blake would have had to read the story and look for clues of what he had to draw. He knew that he would have to include a trumpet in one hand, a large suitcase in the other hand, and he'd have to be wearing a black cloak, and he'd have to be taller than the tallest human and a giant sort of size. So Quentin Blake has to look for clues in Roald Dahl's writing to find out what he needs to draw the character like. And that's what we're going to need to do today. Look for clues to help us with how to draw our Blake illustrations. Okay, so I'm going to move myself out of the way so I'm not in your way. But we're going to do some free drawing today to match some quotes from Roald Dahl books. And can you correctly match the sentence to the illustration? So I've got two pictures here. One is from the Twits, and the other one is from Revolting Rhymes, which is one of my favourites. And here is my quote from the book. Which one do you think it is? So you need to get your whiteboards and pens ready now. So just pause me if you need to go and grab them. And once you've got your whiteboard and pen, we're just going to write A or B on there because one of the pictures is A and one of the pictures is B. So we're going to see which picture matches the quote from the story. So here's my quote. She hitched her skirts above her knee and disappeared right up the tree. So it's a rhyming one. Which picture do you think that matches? Is it A or is it B? Can you write it on your whiteboard now for me, please? Okay, well done if you've got B for that one. That one is Jack and the Beanstalk from Revolting Rhymes. Okay, so well done. That was when Jack's mum went up the tree. Okay, I've got another ones from Revolting Rhymes here. It's one of my favourite stories. So double check, is it going to be A or is it going to be B on your whiteboard? Off with her head, the prince roared back. They chopped it off with one big whack. Is that going to be picture A or is that going to be picture B? Right on your whiteboard. Okay, well done if you've got A. Obviously it's A because we can see the prince chopping off someone's head and the head is flying in the air. We can see the body still and we can see the prince with his sword in his hand. So Quentin Blake again has looked for those specific clues. Okay, this one's a bit trickier. I did this one as a bit of a challenge. So in one of the pictures, it's Mrs Twit, okay, and in the other one, it is a boy. His name is Bruno, and he's turning into another creature. And that's in the other one. So I wonder which one it's going to match with. It says, I can, they're stretching me like mad. So you have to think which picture is showing someone getting stretched. Is it A or is it B? Pop it on your whiteboard for me. Lovely. Well done if you've got A. That is the correct answer. Good stuff. It is. It's Mrs Twit. And Mr Twit tries to stretch her using lots of balloons because she thinks that she's shrinking. Okay, well done, guys, if you've got those bits and bobs right. I just want you to put your whiteboards and pens away now because we're just going to now have a look again at Quentin Blake's style of writing. This picture here is an illustration that's in the book The Witches, and I wonder if any of you have seen that one before. So we know that his style is quite unique, okay? Not many people can draw like Quentin Blake does, and these are things that include, so jagged, rough lines. Drawings look as though they have been done very quickly. He always starts with the face, normally the nose. So for this one, it's a skeleton nose if you have a really good look. So he would have taken some time getting some skeleton features on there. There's not much detail on the face. This one's different though because it's a skeleton. So he has drawn lots of details on the face, but normally the face is quite plain. He's used spiky lines used for the hair, and long, thin arms and legs. And we can definitely see that in this picture. The witch has got really, really long, thin arms. And she's also got really long fingers as well, if you have a good look. Oh, I hope you didn't put your whiteboards away because we're going to need them again. Sorry. So I want you now to practice. I'm going to read out an extract from a book, okay? And you need to look for clues for me to help you to know what to draw on your whiteboard to match the description. So let's just have a look at the description first. So, when Mrs. Twit came to after fainting from a frog being in her bed, the frog had jumped on her face. This is not a nice thing to happen to anyone in bed at night. She screamed again. Okay, let's look for clues together then. Let's think about who the main character is. Ooh, when Mrs. Twit came to, well, it must be Mrs. Twit. She's the only person that's mentioned. And then let's see what's actually happening that needs to be drawn in the picture. Well, there seems to be a frog in her bed and it's jumped on her face. So she seems to be screaming. Okay, so you're going to have to draw Mrs. Twit. Now, remember, she's not very nice looking. So remember, make her as ugly as you can. And a frog's jumped on her face. Okay, and she seems to be in her bed. So I want you to pause me here. And this is just on a whiteboard now because it's just a practice. But try and get it in that Quentin Blake style. Okay, we're drawing Mrs. Twit with a frog on her face in bed. Okay, pause me here and have a good go on your whiteboards. Off you go. Okay, right, I hope you got on really well with that one then, everyone, because now this is what it actually does look like from the extract. So that's the first one, is the picture of the frog, leaping over her in bed. She's asleep in that first one. You can see her jagged teeth, her little claw hands poking over the duvet. Okay, and there's the little frog at the start. He's looking pretty happy with himself. And then the bottom picture is Mrs. Twit in bed. She's woken up and that frog is sat on her head. So well done if you had something similar to that. This is how it looks in the book. So good work, guys. Okay, right, we're ready for our activity now. And our activity is we're going to choose an exciting sentence and we're going to draw an illustration to match it. So this is where you're going to need to go and get your blank piece of paper and your pencil for me. So pause me if you need to. Okay, well done if you've gone and got those. So if you're doing a 2 chili challenge today, you're going to choose a sentence to draw from the next slide. And I've got a few sentences on there. Okay, and I've chosen from a variety of books to make it as exciting as possible. But if you're my lovely people that are at home, I know lots of you might have some Roald Dahl books. So it might be good if you went and found one and you looked for an exciting quote yourself to draw. Okay, so that's a 3 chili challenge. But most people, okay, we're going to choose a sentence from the next slide along. Okay, so here are my sentences and I've chosen them from different books. Okay, so the first one in the blue box is the Twits. They stood in the middle of the room looking up. All the furniture, the big table, the chairs, the sofa, the ornaments, the carpet, everything was stuck upside to the ceiling. So in that one, everything is upside down and it's all stuck on the ceiling. So I thought that one might be a really good one to draw because you need to draw Mr. and Mrs. Twit in the middle of the room and everything you can imagine in a room stuck on the ceiling upside down. Okay, so that's if you want to do the blue box. In the orange box underneath it, it's from the witches. And I showed you a picture of this one earlier, but I want you to see if you can make it any better. So Bruno was getting smaller by the second. Brown fur was growing all over his body. Suddenly he had a tail. And then he had whiskers. Now he had 4 feet. And all at once, he wasn't there anymore. And a small mouse was running around on the table. So for this one, I thought it might be quite good if you made a transitional picture from him being a boy and then turning into a mouse. Okay, that's what Quentin Blake did in the book. So I wonder if you could do the same. Okay, in the pink box, this one's from Fantastic Mr. Fox. So, bogus, bunce and bean, one fat, one short, one lean. These horrible crooks, so different in looks, were nevertheless equally as mean. So they are the bad guys in the book, okay? And remember, they can look however you want them to look. One needs to be fat, one needs to be short, and one needs to be lean, which means quite skinny, okay, but quite tall as well. So that's up to you if you wanted to draw the 3 bad guys for me, okay? Remember, do them in that Quentin Blake style, nice rough lines, jagged edges, that sort of thing, make them look ugly, because remember, Quentin Blake makes them look ugly by changing their features. Okay, so that's the pink box. And if you want to do the yellow box on the bottom, it's from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. So the tiny men, they were no larger than medium-sized dolls, had stopped what they were doing, and now they were staring back across the river at the visitors. But they can't be real people, Charlie said. Of course they're real people, Mr. Wonka answered. They're Oompa Loompas. So for the yellow box, if you're going to do that one, you're going to need to draw an illustration of the Oompa Loompas, and they're going to be on the other side of a river, and Charlie and Mr. Wonka will be there as well. So that's going to be quite a big one to do if you'd like to do the yellow box, okay? So you're going to want to pause the screen now so that you can choose the sentence that you'd like to draw. Now remember, we need to do it in that Quentin Blake style, okay? So don't forget, he has those jagged edges, okay? Long, thin arms, legs, spiky hair that he just does lines for. So try and get them done in that sort of way. So choose your favourite sentence now, and I want you to pause the screen, get your paper ready, and draw your illustration. Off you go. Okay, well, I can't wait to see them. I hope you had fun doing that as well. Tomorrow is a really exciting day. It's World Book Day, so I hope you enjoy your special day. It's going to be all about some special books tomorrow. I think they are the Tom Fletcher books. So enjoy that, because we've got some really lovely things going on. Mrs. Krabs worked really hard to make it as exciting as it can be. So have fun, and I will see you again on Friday. Take care, everyone. Take care, and I'll see you again soon.